All right, let's talk tech. In July of 2018, Nigeria's Vice President Osinbajo inaugurated an advisory group on technology and creativity of the National Industrial Policy and Competitiveness Advisory Council, NIPCAC. The advisory group on technology and creativity was envisaged as part of the Industrial Policy and Competitiveness Advisory Council. The council was established by President Buhari in 2016, who then asked Vice President Osinbajo to serve as chair. 3 years since the technology group was inaugurated, members of Nigeria's tech community have been asking for an update on the group. One of those members joins us right now. Joining us to discuss further is Victor Ekwealor, Victor Ekwealor Jr., who's a technology and entrepreneur and analyst. Victor, thank you so much for joining us. Good morning to you. So we've got 2 tweets here just to bolster what we're talking about. I think one of them is from Tommy Davis, who is an advisor in the tech community. He put up a tweet where he was asking, I wonder what happened to the 28 tech entrepreneurs and the Presidential Advisory Group. I think we've also got a tweet from Titilola Odumi, who is also a tech journalist. Whatever happened to the 50-man advisory group on technology and the creativity that Osinbajo inaugurated in 2018? So there's been a lot of talk of tech recently. You yourself, Victor, you've written a number of articles on this. In fact, I think I read about 3 or 4 of them a few months after the group was inaugurated. So what's the latest from your end?
Thank you very much for having me, Rotus. So this group inaugurated a long time ago, and I mean, it came with a lot of pomp, and everybody was excited that the government is coming in. But to a very large extent, there has not been any updates whatsoever, right? Like, I can say from my understanding that nothing has been going on to a very large extent.
All right. So, did you have a sense that there was optimism over what the advisory group could have accomplished when you think about the makeup of the group with the number of people that came together to form it?
What's bolstered confidence for everybody to a very large extent were the constituents of the group, right? The people in the group. It wasn't just people in the tech ecosystem, it was a lot of people, a mixture of people, but 28 very stellar people from the Nigerian tech ecosystem, in as much as there's this pessimism about the government's involvement in tech. But on the other hand, again, like, it's very okay to be optimistic. It's like, okay, the government is getting involved in this thing, and there's going to be some sort of, government and private partnership that's going to happen here. So yes, to a very large extent, on my part, a lot of people I know, there was optimism. It was very, very, very cautioned optimism, but yes, it was optimism.
All right. So if we can delve into this, when the public sector comes together with the private sector to solve problems in Nigeria's tech space, from your vantage point, where should the focus be? Should it be cybercrime? Should it be more broadband expansion? With everything you've written, and you've written a lot of articles about this, what was expected? What should be one of the first things they address?
One of the biggest problems, okay, first of all, I'm going to go back a bit. Every time there is a public-private partnership, and this is like the government's involvement, there is not a lot of faith, because it doesn't always turn out great, right? I think that there is supposed to be a large focus on policy. In Nigeria and a lot of Africa, to be very honest, government policy is a major hindrance to innovation. A lot of government policies, for the lack of a better word, are not well thought out, and they end up impeding the development and innovation that you're supposed to be helping, right? So somebody says, like, a lot of people are of the opinion that the Nigerian government and like regulators are wicked, and because like they're always putting out policies that kill innovation. But to a very large extent, I think wickedness requires some level of intentionality and being deliberate and knowledge, right? And I don't think that Nigerian regulators are very knowledgeable of the goings on in this ecosystem, right? A lot of things, and I've interacted with a lot of people. I've interacted with some policymakers. I've interacted with some stakeholders, and I know to a very large extent that a lot of what happens in the policy sector is a lot of hit and miss. Now, this committee this advisory group, whatever you call it, is a big example of this, right? So this group was put together to bring people that are knowledgeable to advise the government. Basically, what that group was supposed to do, amongst other things, was to create a roadmap, like a policy roadmap that guides implementation of policy, laws, and everything, just to make it a great environment for innovation, right? But nothing of that sort happened. So no engagement happened. I talked to members of the committee. This is not even hearsay. And to the best of my knowledge, till now that you and I have spoken, nothing tangible has come out of the engagement. So yes, policy is a big concern for everybody, stakeholders in the ecosystem, because a lot of the policies are, they are not great.
I get where you're coming from. Okay, but can the government be given some type of credit for putting them together? Because, I mean, again, as you said, you know, the President Buhari handed this down, made Vice President Osinbajo the chair. Osinbajo, you know, mentioned a number of these folks. Is there any credit to be given for the intention, even though there hasn't been a follow-through?
Okay. It's very easy to bash, you know, it's very easy to do very, very negative criticism and knock everything and everybody down. It's very easy to bash the government, and the Nigerian government makes themselves an easy target. But the truth is, there is something I always say, and it's that innovation and technology are moving faster than any regulator can keep up with. And this is not just in Nigeria, this is all over the world, right? Regulators and governments are struggling to get a hold on and off the pace of innovation, right? You can see this being reflected in like a lot of Silicon Valley technology companies. Social media is one of the biggest example, right? There's a struggle to get a grasp of the law, like on these things. So yes, the Nigerian government is not, you know, is not an outlier in, you know, not understanding what happens in this field. That being said, I don't think that intention means anything. Intention really does not mean anything, right? There are countries in the world where they don't have half as much, you know, intentions as happens here, but things get done, you know. Now, okay, I'm going to backtrack a bit. It's very easy to say that, like I said, on my end, I think the government doesn't understand what goes on here. And a lot of people that don't have great understanding of goings on, they say things like, oh, you entrepreneurs to try to engage the government more. But what we've seen is that it seems that the government is not ready to take this feedback. Because this intention is clear now. They brought people together to form a committee, tell us what's going on here, and they end up not listening to these people, right? So I don't think they deserve any kudos for intention. Intentions don't do anything for anybody.
All right, Victor, point well made. We only got about a minute to go. Vice President Osinbajo traveled to Silicon Valley in 2018. Does that also, before I put this group together, were there any takeaways from that trip in a minute or less?
I think the trip was important. One of the biggest things the trip did was to create a fund. The guys at Ventures platform, they did a great job with that and everything. But that's something that could have happened even without him visiting Silicon Valley, right? So I don't know. Maybe he had something to do, but to me, it looked, I don't know. The effects were not that great to a very large extent for all I know, because everything that happened there could have happened without him even going.
All right, Victor, really appreciate your insights. We'll, of course, have to have you back on the show to talk about more that needs to be done within Nigeria's technology space and improving things going forward. Victor Ekwealor Jr., tech entrepreneur and journalist, really appreciate your insights there.